The screech of metal against asphalt pierced through the quiet October morning in Cedar Falls, Ohio. Ethan Walsh had been up on Mrs. Hendricks' roof since sunrise, replacing rotted shingles before the autumn rains arrived. His hammer paused mid-swing as he watched a black SUV barrel down Maple Street at twice the speed limit, weaving between parked cars like a predator chasing prey. Ahead of it, a silver sedan took a desperate turn onto the bridge over Miller's Creek, tires smoking against the pavement. The driver was trying to escape, but the physics of the situation were working against them. Too much speed, too sharp a turn, too little room for error. Jesus Christ, Ethan breathed, dropping his hammer as the inevitable unfolded before him. The sedan's rear end fishtailed, clipping the bridge's stone railing with enough force to send chunks of masonry tumbling into the creek below. For a moment, the car seemed to hover in space, defying gravity through sheer momentum. Then physics reasserted itself with brutal efficiency. The vehicle plunged 15 feet into the shallow water, landing driver's side down with an impact that echoed across the valley like thunder. The black SUV screeched to a halt at the bridge's edge. Two men in dark suits emerged, looked down at the wreckage, then quickly retreated to their vehicle and sped away. The whole sequence had taken less than 30 seconds, but it would replay in Ethan's mind for months to come. "Call 911, he shouted to Mrs. Hendricks, who had emerged from her kitchen at the sound of the crash. But Ethan wasn't waiting for emergency services. He was already sliding down the roof, his work boots finding purchase on rain gutters that groaned under his weight. The October water hit him like 1,000 frozen needles. Miller's Creek was barely 4 feet deep this time of year, but the sedan had landed at an angle that submerged the driver's side completely. Through the passenger window, which remained mercifully above water, he could see her. A woman, maybe mid-30s, unconscious, blood trickling from a gash on her forehead. Her seatbelt held her suspended at an angle that would drown her in minutes if the water level rose even slightly. "Ma'am, can you hear me?" Ethan pulled at the passenger door, but the frame had warped from the impact. The window was his only option. He grabbed a river rock and struck the glass repeatedly until it shattered into 1,000 safety glass pebbles. The woman stirred as cold air rushed in. "No, no hospital," she mumbled, her words slurred but urgent. "Please, they'll find me. Lady, you need medical attention." Ethan reached through the window, trying to assess her injuries while keeping her head above the rising water. The creek was shallow, but October rain had been falling steadily for days. Every minute counted. Her eyes fluttered open, revealing a deep brown that held more fear than pain. "Promise me," she gasped, clutching at his flannel shirt with surprising strength. "No police, no hospital. Promise." Okay, I promise. But we need to get you out of here now." Ethan managed to cut through her seatbelt with his pocket knife, then carefully maneuvered her through the window. She cried out as her ribs pressed against the frame, but there was no other way. He cradled her against his chest as he waded toward the bank, feeling her body trembling from shock and cold. "Jamie," she whispered, so softly he almost missed it. "Have to protect Jamie." "Is Jamie in the car? Is someone else?" No, she's gone. They took her." Her voice broke on the last word, and then she went limp in his arms. Mrs. Hendricks was waiting on the bank with blankets from her house, her elderly face creased with worry. "Ambulance is 8 minutes out. She doesn't want—" Ethan began, then stopped. How could he explain the terror in the woman's eyes, the desperate plea to avoid authorities? But looking at her pale face, the blood still seeping from her head wound, he knew he couldn't honor that promise. She needed medical attention more than she needed anonymity. "Actually, Mrs. Hendricks, can you cancel that ambulance? Tell them it was a false alarm." The old woman looked at him like he'd lost his mind. "Ethan Walsh, that woman is injured." "I know. I'll take care of her. Trust me." He adjusted his grip on the unconscious woman, water still streaming from both their clothes. "Can you grab the first aid kit from my truck, the big one in the toolbox?" As Mrs. Hendricks hurried away, muttering about foolish men and their foolish decisions, Ethan looked down at the stranger in his arms. Her face, despite the blood and bruises, had a delicate beauty that reminded him of Renaissance paintings he'd seen in books. But it was the expression she wore even in unconsciousness, a mixture of sorrow and determination that made his decision for him. Whatever she was running from, whoever had chased her off that bridge, she'd risk death rather than capture. That meant something. In his experience, people only ran that hard from two things: the law or something worse than the law. And those men in the SUV hadn't looked like cops. Or Ethan Walsh's house sat at the end of Sycamore Lane, like a testament to what skilled hands could build from sorrow. He'd constructed it himself over the course of 2 years, every nail driven, every board measured, every joint fitted during the long months after Margaret's death. The doctors had given them 6 months after the diagnosis. She'd managed 8, long enough to see Lily's 6th birthday, long enough to record video messages for all the birthdays she'd miss, long enough to make Ethan promise he'd find a way to be happy again. That had been 3 years ago. He hadn't kept that particular promise yet. The house wasn't large: 2 bedrooms, 1 bath, a kitchen that opened into a living room dominated by windows overlooking the woods behind their property. But every inch had been crafted with purpose. The breakfast nook where Lily did her homework, positioned to catch morning sunlight. The built-in bookshelves that held Margaret's collection of mystery novels he couldn't bring himself to donate. The workshop attached to the garage where he spent sleepless nights turning rough lumber into furniture, each piece an attempt to create something permanent in a world that had proven devastatingly temporary. "Daddy, is she going to be okay?" Lily stood in the doorway of the guest room, still in her pajamas despite it being nearly noon. Saturday morning cartoons had been forgotten the moment Ethan carried the unconscious woman through their front door. "I think so, sweetheart. She just needs rest." He adjusted the compress on the woman's forehead, noting with relief that the bleeding had stopped. The gash wasn't as deep as he'd feared, though she'd have a spectacular bruise by tomorrow. Lily crept closer, her 9-year-old face serious with concern. She had her mother's auburn hair and thoughtful brown eyes, the kind that seemed to see more than most children her age. "Why didn't you take her to the hospital? That's where hurt people are supposed to go." It was a fair question, one Ethan had been asking himself for the past hour. Sometimes, Lilybean, people have reasons for avoiding hospitals. Good reasons or bad reasons, I don't know yet. But she was scared, and sometimes the best thing we can do for scared people is help them feel safe first. Like when Thunder was heard and hid under the porch. Thunder had been their neighbor's dog, hit by a car, and too terrified to let anyone close enough to help. Lily had spent 3 days earning the animal's trust, with bits of hamburger and soft words before they could get him to a vet. Exactly like that. The woman stirred, a soft moan escaping her lips. Her eyes opened slowly, unfocused at first, then sharpening with alarm as she took in the unfamiliar surroundings. She tried to sit up, gasped at the pain in her ribs, and fell back against the pillows. "Easy," Ethan said, his voice deliberately calm. "You're safe. You're in my house. No hospitals, no police, just like you asked." Her gaze darted between Ethan and Lily, assessing threats with the kind of hypervigilance he recognized from his own mirror some mornings. The men, the black SUV, gone. They didn't follow us here. He'd been careful about that, taking back roads and doubling back twice before bringing her home. Old habits from a different life, one Margaret had helped him leave behind. "I'm Ethan Walsh. This is my daughter, Lily. You crashed into Miller's Creek. Do you remember?" She nodded slowly, then winced. "I remember. Thank you. I'm sorry. I shouldn't have... You shouldn't be involved in this." "Involved in what?" But she wasn't listening anymore. Her attention had fixed on Lily, and something in her expression crumbled. "She's beautiful," she whispered. "How old?" 9, Lily answered for herself, stepping closer with the fearlessness of a child who'd been raised with love and safety. "What's your name?" The woman hesitated. "Sarah. Sarah Chen." It was a lie, or at least not the whole truth. Ethan could tell by the way she glanced away as she said it, the slight pause before the surname. But everyone was entitled to their secrets, at least until those secrets endangered his daughter. "Are you hungry, Miss Sarah?" Lily asked. "Daddy makes really good grilled cheese. It's what he always makes me when I'm sick or sad." Sarah's eyes filled with tears. She quickly blinked away. "That sounds wonderful, sweetheart. Thank you." As Lily bounced off to the kitchen to begin her assistant chef duties, mostly consisting of getting in the way while providing enthusiastic commentary, Ethan studied their unexpected guest. The clothes she wore were good quality, but practically destroyed from the crash. No wedding ring, though there was a tan line suggesting one had been there recently. Her hands were soft, uncalloused, but her arms showed a wiry strength. The way she'd assessed the room upon waking, checking exits and potential weapons, spoke of training or hard-earned paranoia. "Lily's a special kid," Sarah said, watching through the doorway as the girl carefully arranged plates on a tray. "She is. Takes after her mother that way." The words came out before he could stop them, followed by the familiar ache that accompanied any mention of Margaret. Sarah caught the past tense, the pain that flickered across his face. "I'm sorry for your loss. 3 years ago, cancer." He didn't know why he was telling this stranger, except that something about her sorrow recognized his own. "Lily was only 6. Some days I still don't know what I'm doing, just making it up as I go." "You're doing fine," Sarah said softly. "She's happy, loved, safe. That's everything." There was something in the way she said it, a longing that spoke of personal experience with the alternative. Ethan wanted to ask about Jamie, the name she'd whispered in the car, but instinct told him to wait. Push too hard and she'd run, just like Thunder had tried to run on 3 good legs rather than accept help. The afternoon passed in a strange domesticity. Sarah managed to eat half a grilled cheese sandwich and keep down some water with pain medication. Lily appointed herself the official entertainment committee, bringing out her collection of drawings to show their guest. Most were typical kid stuff: rainbow unicorns, their house with disproportionately large flowers, attempts at drawing thunder that looked more like mutant bears. But scattered among them were what Lily called her family pictures. Crayon representations of 3 figures, always 3, even though it had been just the 2 of them for years now. Daddy, me, and someone new. She'd labeled the most recent one. "I draw them for when our family gets bigger," Lily explained matter-of-factly to Sarah. "Daddy says it's just us 2, but I think there's room for more people. Don't you think there's room for more people?" Ethan felt his face burn. "Lily, Miss Sarah doesn't need to hear about—" "It's beautiful," Sarah interrupted, studying the drawing with genuine interest. "You're very talented, Lily. The way you've drawn everyone holding hands, it shows how much love you have to give." "Do you have any kids?" Lily asked with the blunt curiosity of childhood. Sarah's composure, maintained so carefully throughout the afternoon, finally cracked. Her breath hitched, and she pressed a hand to her mouth as if to hold back a sob. I had a daughter, Jamie. She would have been about your age." Would have been. Past tense. Final. Lily, showing wisdom beyond her years, simply reached out and took Sarah's hand. "I'm sorry she's gone. Do you want to see my special drawing, the one I made for kids who went to heaven?" As his daughter retrieved her most precious artwork, a landscape she insisted showed the place where mommies wait for their families, Ethan watched Sarah Chen struggle to hold herself together. Whatever had driven her off that bridge, whoever those men were, it all connected back to a daughter she'd lost. A daughter named Jamie, who would have been 9 years old. Thus, that evening, after Lily had gone to bed, Sarah finally told him the truth, or at least enough of it to understand why she'd been so terrified of hospitals and police. "My real name is Amanda Torres," she said, clutching a cup of tea like a lifeline. They sat in the living room, rain pattering against the windows Ethan had installed himself, each drop a reminder of the storm that had brought her here. "I was a financial investigator for the FBI, specialized in trafficking cases. Was, until I discovered my husband was one of the people I should have been investigating." Ethan remained silent, letting her words fill the space between them. He'd learned long ago that sometimes the best thing you could do for someone carrying a heavy burden was simply to be present while they set it down. "Richard seemed perfect when we met. Successful investment banker, charitable, good with kids. Jamie adored him." Her voice caught on her daughter's name. "We'd been married 4 years when I started noticing discrepancies. Money moving through his accounts that didn't match his firm's records. Meetings with people who made my investigator instinct scream. I thought maybe insider trading, corporate fraud, something white collar." She set down the teacup, her hands shaking too badly to hold it steady. "It was so much worse. He was laundering money for a trafficking ring. Not drugs, children. They were moving kids across state lines, selling them to the highest bidder. My husband, the man who read bedtime stories to our daughter, was profiting from the sale of children just like her. The rain intensified, hammering against the roof Ethan had sealed just last month. He thought of Lily, safe in her bed, surrounded by stuffed animals and the nightlight that projected stars on her ceiling. The idea of anyone commodifying that innocence made his hands clench into fists. I gathered evidence for 3 months, Amanda continued. Recordings, documents, financial trails. I was going to turn him in, make sure he never saw daylight again. But he found out. I don't know how. Maybe I wasn't as careful as I thought. Maybe he had sources in the bureau. He came home one night and said we were going on a family vacation. Jamie was so excited. She'd been begging to go to Disney World. She stood abruptly, pacing to the window where rain streaked the glass like tears. The car accident was staged. They made it look like I'd been drinking, lost control on a curve. Jamie, my baby girl. She died on impact. At least that's what they told me when I woke up in the hospital 3 days later. Richard was there, playing the grieving husband and father. He leaned close and whispered that if I ever spoke about what I knew, he'd make sure I joined her. Jesus, Ethan breathed. Amanda, I'm so sorry. I ran. The moment I could walk, I ran. Changed my name, bought a car with cash, kept moving. That was 8 months ago. I thought I'd covered my tracks, but they found me in Denver, then Phoenix, and now here. Those men in the SUV, they work for Richard's associates. The organization doesn't trust him to clean up his own mess anymore. She turned from the window, and in the lamplight, Ethan could see the full weight of her exhaustion. 8 months of running, 8 months of grief without the space to properly mourn, 8 months of looking over her shoulder and wondering if today would be the day they caught up. You should leave, she said. Take Lily and go stay with relatives for a few days. Once I'm strong enough to move, I'll disappear again. They don't know about you, and I won't let them. No. The word came out with more force than Ethan intended. Amanda blinked in surprise. No, he repeated, softer but no less firm. You're not running anymore. Not from my house. You don't understand the danger? I understand plenty. He stood, crossing to where she stood by the window. Up close, he could see the fine lines around her eyes, the way her shoulders curved inward as if protecting herself from invisible blows. I understand that you've been fighting this alone for too long. I understand that those bastards killed your daughter, and now they're hunting you. And I understand that sometimes the only way to stop running is to make a stand. This isn't your fight. You have Lily to think about. That's exactly why it is my fight. The words surprised him with their certainty. What kind of father would I be if I let you walk back out into danger? What would I be teaching Lily about standing up for what's right? Margaret always said... He paused, swallowing past the lump in his throat. She said the only thing necessary for evil to triumph is for good people to do nothing. Amanda studied his face, searching for something. You're not just a carpenter, are you? Ethan almost smiled. I am now, but before Margaret, before Lily, I was Army, military police. Did 2 tours in Afghanistan, investigated everything from theft to murder to corruption among local officials we were supposed to be helping. I know how to protect someone, Amanda. Let me help you. Why? The question came out as barely a whisper. Why would you risk everything for a stranger? He thought about how to answer that. The truth was complicated, tangled up with Margaret's death and promises made, and the hollow feeling that had lived in his chest for 3 years. But there was a simpler truth too, one that Lily had drawn in crayon. Because there's room for more people, he said finally. And because you chose to protect those kids even though it cost you everything. Someone like that deserves protection in return. Amanda's composure finally shattered completely. She sobbed, great gasping sobs that seemed to come from somewhere deep in her chest, and Ethan did the only thing that felt right. He pulled her into his arms and let her cry. She grieved against his flannel shirt, her tears soaking through to his skin, her body shaking with the force of emotions too long contained. Jamie loved origami, she gasped between sobs. She could make anything, cranes, flowers, little boxes. She was teaching herself from YouTube videos, said she wanted to make 1,000 cranes so we could all make wishes. She only got to 217. We'll finish them, Ethan said, not knowing where the promise came from, but meaning it absolutely. You, me, and Lily will make the rest. She pulled back slightly, looking up at him with red-rimmed eyes. You don't even know me. I know enough. His hand came up almost involuntarily to brush a tear from her cheek. I know you're brave. I know you loved your daughter. I know you're tired of running. That's enough to start with. Something shifted in the air between them, a recognition of possibility in the midst of impossibility. Amanda, Sarah, he'd have to remember to call her Sarah in front of others, leaned into his touch for just a moment before stepping back. They'll come here, she warned. Richard has resources, connections. Once they realize the car is empty, they'll check hospitals, motels, anywhere I might go. Then we'll be ready for them. Ethan moved to the desk in the corner, pulling out a legal pad and pen. Tell me everything. Names, dates, patterns of behavior. My old commanding officer works for the U.S. Marshals now. If we can get you into witness protection... I tried that. Richard has someone inside. The safe house in Phoenix was compromised within a week. Then we do it differently. We don't run and we don't hide. We gather new evidence, build a case so airtight that it doesn't matter who he's paid off. Ethan began sketching out a plan, his mind shifting into the analytical mode that had served him well in military investigations. First, we need to document everything you remember. Then we figure out who in law enforcement we can actually trust. There's a state police detective in Columbus, Marcus Stone. We serve together. He's as clean as they come. You're talking about taking on an entire trafficking ring. I'm talking about keeping you alive and getting justice for Jamie. He looked up from his notes. Those seem like worthwhile goals to me. Before Amanda could respond, a small voice came from the hallway. Daddy, is Miss Sarah okay? Lily stood in her unicorn pajamas, rubbing sleepy eyes. She padded over to where Amanda sat, studying her tear-stained face with that penetrating childhood wisdom. Bad dreams? Lily asked sympathetically. I have those sometimes, about Mommy being gone. Daddy says it's okay to cry about sad things. Amanda nodded, unable to speak. Lily climbed onto the couch beside her, snuggling close with the casual affection of a child who'd never learned to distrust the world. You can stay here, Lily announced. We have a guest room and everything. And tomorrow I can show you my favorite tree to climb. Daddy built a really cool platform in it where you can see the whole valley. It's a good place to think about stuff. Lily Bean, Miss Sarah might not be staying, Ethan began. Yes, she is, Lily interrupted with 9-year-old certainty. She needs us, and we need her. That's what families do. They need each other. Amanda looked between father and daughter, these strangers who were offering her not just shelter, but something she'd thought died with Jamie, the possibility of belonging somewhere again. Okay, she whispered. Okay, I'll stay. Lily beamed, then yawned enormously. Good. Can we have pancakes tomorrow? Special occasion as pancakes with chocolate chips? Sure, sweetheart, Ethan said, scooping her up. Now back to bed. As he carried Lily back to her room, he heard her sleepy voice say, I like her, Daddy. She's sad like us, but she's nice. Maybe we can all be less sad together. Out of the mouths of babes, Ethan thought. Maybe that was all any of them were really looking for. Someone to be less sad with. Someone to help shoulder the weight of loss and the dangerous hope of starting over. When he returned to the living room, Amanda was standing by his bookshelf, studying the family photos arranged there. Pictures of Margaret, healthy and laughing. Lily as a baby, a toddler, a gap-toothed first grader. The three of them at the county fair, covered in powdered sugar from funnel cakes. She was beautiful, Amanda said softly. Margaret? She was, inside and out. Ethan joined her at the shelf. She would have liked you. She always rooted for the underdog, always stood up to bullies. Even when the cancer was winning, she fought for every extra day with Lily. How do you do it? Keep going, I mean, after losing someone who was your whole world. Ethan considered the question. It was one he'd asked himself every morning for 3 years. You find new reasons? Lily, obviously. My work, there's something healing about building things, creating something solid and useful. And lately, he paused, wondering if it was too soon to voice what he'd been feeling. Lately, I've been thinking Margaret would be pretty upset if I wasted the rest of my life just existing instead of living. Amanda turned to face him fully. I don't know if I remember how to live anymore. Just survive. Then we'll figure it out together, one day at a time. She reached out, her fingers barely brushing his hand. "Thank you, Ethan, for everything. I haven't felt safe in so long. I'd forgotten what it was like." "You're safe here," he promised. "Whatever comes next, whatever we have to face, you're not facing it alone anymore. And now Cesard." The next morning arrived with the kind of golden autumn light that made Cedar Falls look like a painting. Ethan woke to the sound of laughter from the kitchen, Lily's bright giggle mixed with another sound he hadn't heard in his house for years, an adult woman's genuine laugh. He found them at the breakfast table, Lily demonstrating what she called the perfect chocolate chip pancake flip, while Amanda watched with amusement. She'd borrowed one of Margaret's old sweaters from the closet. Ethan had never been able to donate them, and it gave her a softer appearance than the torn business clothes of yesterday. "Daddy, look! Miss Sarah knows how to make pancake art." Lily held up a plate featuring a lopsided but recognizable butterfly crafted from batter. She learned from Jamie. Amanda's smile faltered slightly at her daughter's name, but she recovered quickly. Jamie loved butterflies. She said they proved that beautiful things could come from difficult transformations. "That's really smart," Lily said solemnly. "Was Jamie smart like you?" "Smarter," Amanda said softly. "She saw the world in ways that constantly surprised me." Ethan poured himself coffee, watching the easy interaction between his daughter and their guest. Lily had been hungry for female connection since Margaret's death, though she'd never explicitly said so. The aunt who visited occasionally, the elderly Mrs. Hendricks next door, they helped, but this was different. This was someone who understood loss from the inside, who carried grief like a familiar weight rather than an uncomfortable burden to be set down as quickly as possible. "Can we show Miss Sarah the workshop after breakfast?" Lily asked. She said she's never seen anyone actually make furniture before. "If she's feeling up to it," Ethan said, catching Amanda's eye. The bruising on her face had darkened overnight into purple-green clouds along her cheekbone, and he'd heard her moving around in the guest room at 3 a.m., probably checking locks and windows. "I'd love to see it," Amanda said. "I've always admired people who can create things with their hands. My work was all numbers and papers, nothing you could touch and say, 'I made this.'" After breakfast, they walked the short path to Ethan's workshop. It was his sanctuary, the place where grief transformed into something useful. The smell of sawdust and linseed oil enveloped them as he opened the door, revealing his organized chaos of tools, half-finished projects, and completed pieces waiting for delivery. "Wow," Amanda breathed, running her fingers along a dining table he'd just finished. The wood was black walnut, polished to a warm glow that seemed to emanate from within the grain itself. "This is beautiful." "Daddy made it for the Johnsons," Lily explained. "They're having their 40th anniversary next month. See the leaves he carved along the edge? Each one represents one of their grandkids." Amanda traced the delicate leaf pattern, and Ethan noticed her hands were steadier today. "How long have you been doing this?" "Professionally, about 4 years. But I learned from my grandfather when I was young. He always said working with wood was like a conversation. You had to listen to what the material wanted to become, rather than forcing your vision onto it." "Can you teach me?" The question seemed to surprise Amanda as much as it did Ethan. "I mean, something simple. I need something to do with my hands. When I'm idle, my mind goes to dark places." "Of course." Ethan pulled out a piece of pine, soft and forgiving for beginners. "We'll start with something basic. Lily, want to show Miss Sarah your jewelry box project?" For the next 2 hours, they worked side by side, Lily chattering about school and her best friend Emma while she sanded her half-completed box. Amanda learning to feel the grain of the wood, to understand how the chisel wanted to move with it rather than against it. Ethan guiding, correcting, his hands sometimes covering hers to demonstrate the proper angle or pressure. It was during one of these moments, his hands over hers on the chisel handle, that he became acutely aware of her presence. The way she smelled faintly of his shampoo. The small scar on her thumb that suggested this wasn't her first injury. The way she bit her lower lip in concentration, just like Lily did when working on a difficult math problem. "You're a good teacher," she said quietly, and he realized he'd been standing too close for too long. "You're a quick learner." He stepped back, busying himself with selecting the next tool she'd need. "Daddy taught me everything," Lily announced proudly. "He says making things helps when you're sad. Like you're putting the sadness into something beautiful instead of keeping it all inside. Amanda's eyes met Ethan's over their daughter's head. Your dad sounds very wise. He is, and he makes the best spaghetti. Are you staying for dinner? Please say you're staying for dinner. Before Amanda could answer, they heard the sound of tires on gravel. Ethan moved to the window, his body automatically shifting to block the door. But it was just Tom Morrison's pickup, delivering the lumber order Ethan had placed last week. He saw Amanda relax fractionally and realized she'd grabbed the chisel like a weapon. They were both damaged, he thought, both constantly prepared for the worst. Maybe that's why this felt less strange than it should, having a woman he'd known for less than 48 hours in his workshop, teaching her his craft, while his daughter adopted her like a stray cat who'd wandered in from the cold. Tom unloaded the lumber, making small talk about the weather and the upcoming harvest festival. You entering that pumpkin carving contest again this year, Lily? Maybe, Lily said, suddenly shy. Miss Sarah, do you know how to carve pumpkins? I haven't in years, Amanda admitted. Then we have to. Daddy, can we get pumpkins today? The big ones at Miller's farm? Ethan hesitated. Taking Amanda out in public was a risk, but the longing in her eyes as she watched Lily's excitement decided him. She'd been in hiding for 8 months, unable to do simple things like pick pumpkins or carve jack-o'-lanterns. Sometimes living meant taking calculated risks. Sure, Lily Bean, we'll go this afternoon. Miller's farm was bustling with weekend visitors, families searching for the perfect pumpkin among rows of orange globes. Lily ran ahead, evaluating candidates with serious consideration, while Ethan and Amanda followed more slowly. This is dangerous, Amanda murmured, scanning the crowd with practiced vigilance. Maybe, but look at her. He nodded toward Lily, who was attempting to lift a pumpkin nearly as big as herself. She needs this, normal moments, and I think maybe you do too. I don't remember normal anymore. Then we'll remind you. Thus he helped Lily with the enormous pumpkin, then noticed Amanda had stopped by a smaller, oddly shaped one. That's definitely unique. Jamie would have picked this one, she said. She always chose the weird ones, said they had more personality. We'd make up stories about how they got their strange shapes, pumpkin adventures gone wrong. Tell me about her, not the loss, but who she was. As they wandered through the pumpkin patch, Amanda began to talk. Jamie had been obsessed with marine biology, convinced she'd discover a new species of octopus one day. She'd kept a journal of funny things people said, collecting words like treasures. She'd been afraid of thunderstorms, but loved dancing in the rain once it passed. She made friends with everyone, Amanda continued. The bus driver, the librarian, the grocery store clerk. She remembered their names, asked about their families. At the funeral, hundreds of people came. People I'd never even heard of, whose lives she'd touched just by being herself. They'd circled back to where Lily was attempting to negotiate carrying 3 pumpkins instead of the agreed-upon 2. Please, Daddy, one for each of us and one for Miss Sarah. I don't need, Amanda began. Yes, you do, Lily interrupted with authority. Everyone needs their own pumpkin. It's the rule. As they loaded pumpkins into Ethan's truck, an elderly woman approached. Excuse me, you look so familiar. Aren't you? Amanda tensed, but the woman was looking at Ethan. You're the one who built my granddaughter's crib, Hannah Morrison. Most beautiful piece of furniture I've ever seen. Mrs. Morrison, good to see you. How's the new baby? As Ethan chatted with the elderly woman, Amanda helped Lily arrange the pumpkins in the truck bed. Watching them together, Lily explaining her plans for each pumpkin, while Amanda listened with genuine interest. Something shifted in Ethan's chest. That hollow feeling that had lived there for 3 years didn't disappear, but it seemed to make room for something else. Possibility, maybe, or hope. That evening, they spread newspapers on the kitchen table and carved pumpkins while an old Halloween movie played in the background. Lily created a traditional jack-o'-lantern with triangle eyes and a gap-toothed grin. Ethan carved an intricate design of a tree with spreading branches. Amanda worked quietly on hers, turning it away when Lily tried to peek. Okay, ready for the reveal, she finally said, turning her pumpkin around. She'd carved a butterfly. Not a simple silhouette, but a detailed monarch with delicate wings that seemed ready to take flight. The light from the candle inside made the wings glow like stained glass. It's beautiful, Lily breathed, like Jamie's butterfly pancake but in pumpkin form. A transformation, Ethan said quietly, understanding the symbolism. Amanda nodded, her eyes bright with unshed tears. Something beautiful from something difficult. After Lily had gone to bed, pumpkins flickering on the porch, Ethan and Amanda sat in the kitchen, sharing a pot of tea. The domesticity of it should have felt strange. A woman he barely knew, wearing his dead wife's sweater, sitting in the chair Margaret used to occupy. Instead, it felt like pieces of a puzzle finding their places, not the same picture as before, but perhaps something equally worth completing. "Thank you for today," Amanda said. "I'd forgotten what it felt like to just be, no running, no looking over my shoulder, just picking pumpkins and making jack-o'-lanterns like a normal person." "You are a normal person. You're just a normal person dealing with extraordinarily abnormal circumstances." She laughed, but it was bitter. Normal people don't get their children killed because they couldn't leave well enough alone. "Stop." Ethan reached across the table, taking her hand. "Your daughter was killed because evil men do evil things, not because you tried to stop them. Jamie would be proud of you for fighting to protect other children. You didn't know her. No, but I'm getting to know you. And if she was anything like her mother, she had a fierce sense of justice and a heart that couldn't stand by while innocents suffered." Amanda turned her hand in his, their fingers intertwining. "Margaret was lucky to have you. I was lucky to have her. But she's gone, and I'm still here, and lately I've been wondering if maybe that means something. If maybe I'm supposed to do more than just exist in the museum of our old life. Is that what this is? You helping me? Moving forward?" Ethan considered the question. Maybe. Or maybe it's simpler than that. Maybe sometimes two broken people can prop each other up until they remember how to stand on their own. They sat in comfortable silence, hands still linked across the table, while outside the jack-o'-lanterns kept watch against the darkness. The harvest festival arrived with the kind of crisp October weather that made people grateful for sweaters and hot cider. Cedar Falls took its autumn celebrations seriously. Main Street transformed into a corridor of hay bales and corn stalks, every storefront competing for the most elaborate scarecrow display. The whole town turned out, which meant Ethan couldn't avoid it even if he'd wanted to. "Please, Daddy, everyone's going to be there. Emma says they have a new bounce house shaped like a haunted castle." Lily had deployed her most effective weapon, hopeful eyes that reminded him painfully of Margaret. Amanda stood at the kitchen sink, carefully washing dishes as if she hadn't been listening to the conversation. She'd been with them a week now, and the bruises had faded to yellow-green shadows that makeup could mostly hide. But she still jumped at unexpected sounds, still checked windows before entering rooms. "What do you think, Sarah?" Ethan used her assumed name deliberately, practicing for public. "Feel like braving the Cedar Falls Harvest Festival?" She turned, drying her hands on a dish towel. "I don't want to put you at risk. The more people who see me, the more people who see a normal family enjoying a normal weekend," Ethan interrupted. "Sometimes the best hiding place is in plain sight." "We're not a family," Amanda said quietly, but Lily had already latched onto the word. "We could be, though, right? Like a practice family?" The 9-year-old's logic was simultaneously heartbreaking and hopeful. "Miss Sarah needs a family, and we need her." Amanda's eyes filled with tears. She quickly blinked away. She'd been doing that a lot, almost crying, then pulling herself back as if showing emotion was a luxury she couldn't afford. "Okay," she said finally, "but I'm wearing a hat and sunglasses." "It's October in Ohio. Everyone's wearing hats and sunglasses," Ethan pointed out. The festival was in full swing when they arrived. The air smelled of kettle corn and apple cider, with an underlying note of hay and livestock from the petting zoo. Lily immediately spotted Emma and ran off with promises to stay within sight. "She's really okay with this?" Amanda asked, watching Lily laugh with her friend. "Having a stranger just inserted into her life? Kids are adaptable, and you're hardly a stranger anymore. You helped her with her homework last night. You know her favorite breakfast. You listened to her entire plot summary of the latest Dogman book. In kid time, that makes you practically family." They walked through the festival, stopping at various booths. Amanda gradually relaxed, her shoulders dropping from their defensive hunch. She even smiled genuinely when Lily won a goldfish at the ring toss and immediately named it Butterfly. "After your pumpkin," Lily explained. "Daddy, can Butterfly live in my room? We'll see, Lily Bean." Everything was going well until they reached the craft section. Mrs. Patterson, who ran the local daycare and knew everyone's business, spotted them immediately. "Ethan Walsh! It's been ages since you've come to one of these things." Her eyes fixed on Amanda with laser focus. "And who's this?" "This is Sarah Chen. She's Daddy's friend from college," Lily supplied helpfully. "She's staying with us while she looks for a job." Mrs. Patterson's eyebrows rose toward her hairline. Ethan Walsh hadn't had a female friend stay over since Margaret died. This was gossip gold. "How lovely. What kind of work are you in, dear?" Amanda straightened, and Ethan saw her shift into what he'd come to recognize as her professional mode. "Finance. I'm actually looking at opportunities in Columbus, but Ethan was kind enough to offer his guest room while I get my bearings." "Finance! How exciting! You know, my nephew works at a bank in Columbus. Perhaps I could—" "That's very kind," Amanda cut her off smoothly. "I'll definitely let you know if I need connections." But Mrs. Patterson wasn't done. She was the kind of small-town fixture who considered gathering and disseminating information a civic duty. "And where did you say you went to college with Ethan?" "I didn't," Amanda replied, maintaining her pleasant smile. The tension was building, and Ethan was about to intervene when Lily tugged on his sleeve. "Daddy, they're starting the pumpkin contest. We have to go." "Saved by the pumpkin," Ethan murmured to Amanda as they escaped Mrs. Patterson's interrogation. But the encounter had shaken Amanda. She kept scanning the crowd, her hand occasionally moving to her purse where Ethan knew she kept a knife now. He'd seen her checking it that morning. "Maybe this was a mistake," she said quietly. "No, this is exactly what you need, what we all need. Normal problems like nosy neighbors instead of—" He didn't finish, but she understood. The pumpkin contest was being held in the main pavilion. Lily proudly displayed her jack-o'-lantern alongside dozens of others. The competition was fierce. Cedar Falls took its pumpkin carving seriously. "Third place!" Lily shrieked when the results were announced. "I got third place! Miss Sarah, look!" Amanda's face transformed as Lily threw her arms around her waist. For a moment, she looked like any other proud parent at a school event. Then her expression crumbled, as she clearly remembered another child, other festivals, other proud moments that would never come again. "I need some air," she whispered to Ethan, then walked quickly toward the edge of the fairgrounds. He found her behind the agriculture tent, sobbing into her hands. Not the controlled tears he'd seen before, but body-shaking sobs that seemed to come from somewhere deep and wounded. "Jamie loved festivals," she gasped. She'd save her allowance for months to play every game. She never won anything, terrible hand-eye coordination. But she didn't care. She just loved trying. Ethan pulled her into his arms, not caring who might see. "Tell me more about her." She couldn't whistle, tried for years, never got it. But she could do this weird thing with her tongue, make it into a 3-leaf clover, said it was her special talent. She was learning French from an app, wanted to go to Paris and eat real croissants. She had a stuffed octopus named Professor Ink, who went everywhere with her until she decided she was too old for stuffed animals. "I found him hidden under her bed after... She couldn't continue, but she didn't need to. Ethan held her while she grieved, understanding that healing wasn't linear, that moments of normalcy would be interrupted by waves of loss for years to come. He knew because he still had them too, seeing Margaret in the way Lily tilted her head when thinking, catching phantom whiffs of her perfume in unexpected places. "Daddy?" Lily appeared around the corner of the tent, her face creased with worry. "Is Miss Sarah okay?" "She's sad about Jamie," Ethan explained simply. Children deserve truth delivered gently. Lily approached slowly, the way she did with injured animals. She slipped her small hand into Amanda's. "When I miss Mommy really bad, Daddy says it's okay to be sad. He says the sadness is just love with nowhere to go." Amanda looked down at this child who understood loss too well. "Your daddy's very wise. Do you want to see my ribbon? You can hold it if you want. Sometimes holding something good helps when you're holding something sad." As Amanda admired the third-place ribbon with appropriate seriousness, Ethan noticed they were being watched. A man in a baseball cap stood near the beer tent, his attention fixed on them. When he saw Ethan looking, he turned away, but not before Ethan caught sight of his face. Hard features, a small scar through his left eyebrow, the kind of build that suggested violence as profession rather than hobby. "We need to go," Ethan said quietly. Amanda caught his tone immediately. "Where?" "Baseball cap, 2 o'clock. Don't look." "Is it? I don't know, but we're not taking chances. Lily, honey, Butterfly looks tired. We should get him home." "But the fireworks! We'll watch them from the truck, okay? Better view anyway." They moved through the crowd with practiced casualness, Ethan keeping himself between Amanda and the man in the baseball cap. But when he glanced back, the man was following, maintaining distance but definitely following. "Take Lily to the truck," Ethan murmured. "I'll catch up." "Ethan, go." He doubled back through the craft tent, waiting behind a display of quilts. The man in the baseball cap entered, looking around. Ethan stepped out behind him. "Can I help you?" The man spun, his hand moving toward his waist before stopping. "Just looking for the bathroom." "It's in the other direction, clearly marked." They stared at each other for a long moment. The man's eyes were cold, professional. He looked Ethan up and down, assessing. "My mistake," the man said finally. He walked away, but Ethan noticed he headed toward the parking lot, not the bathroom. When Ethan reached the truck, Amanda and Lily were already inside. "Was it one of them?" "I don't know. Maybe. We should go home," Amanda said firmly. "I won't run anymore. If they've found me, then running won't help. At least at your house, we can defend ourselves." "Sarah?" "I'm tired, Ethan. Tired of running, tired of being afraid, tired of letting them control my life. If they want to come, let them come." Lily looked between them, confused and frightened. "Is someone bad coming?" Ethan met Amanda's eyes over Lily's head. "How did you explain to a 9-year-old that the world contained people who would hurt others for money? How did you preserve innocence while ensuring safety?" "Maybe," Amanda said carefully. "Remember how I told you some people were angry at me? Well, they might have found out where I am. But your daddy and I won't let anything happen to you." "Are they the ones who hurt Jamie?" The question hung in the air like a blade. Amanda's voice was steady when she answered. "Yes." Lily considered this with the strange wisdom children sometimes displayed. "Then we'll stop them. Together. That's what families do." As they drove home through the Ohio countryside, fireworks blooming in the rearview mirror, Ethan thought about the word Lily kept using. Family. They weren't one, not really. They were 3 damaged people clinging to each other in a storm. But maybe that's how all families began, strangers choosing to face the world together rather than alone. That night, after Lily was asleep with Butterfly in a bowl beside her bed, Ethan and Amanda sat on the porch watching the stars. He'd checked every lock twice, moved his old service weapon to the nightstand, and set up motion sensors he'd bought months ago, but never installed. "I shouldn't have come here," Amanda said. "I've put you both in danger." "We were never really safe," Ethan replied. "Safety's an illusion. Margaret was the healthiest person I knew, ran marathons, ate organic everything, never smoked a day in her life. Cancer didn't care. The only choice we really have is whether we face the danger alone or together." "Is that what we're doing? Facing it together?" He reached over and took her hand. "If you'll let us." She squeezed his fingers. "I don't know how to do this. Be part of something again. I feel like I'm betraying Jamie by being happy even for moments. Like I'm trying to replace her with Lily." "You're not replacing anyone. Love isn't finite. The heart doesn't have a maximum capacity. Loving Lily doesn't diminish your love for Jamie any more than caring for you diminishes what I felt for Margaret." "Caring for me?" She turned to look at him directly. "I care," he said simply. "More than I probably should after such a short time. You've brought something back to this house, Amanda. Hope, maybe, or just the reminder that life goes on whether we participate or not." She leaned against his shoulder, and they sat in comfortable silence watching the stars wheel overhead. But even in the peace of the moment, Ethan couldn't shake the image of the man in the baseball cap. The storm was coming. The only question was whether they'd be ready when it arrived. Inside the house, Lily slept peacefully, her new goldfish making lazy circles in its bowl. She'd insisted on placing it where the morning sun would hit the water, making rainbows on her wall. Such simple faith that tomorrow would come, that beauty would continue to exist despite the darkness gathering at their borders. The call came at 3:47 a.m., jerking Ethan from an uneasy sleep. His phone vibrated against the nightstand, the screen showing unknown number. He almost didn't answer, but something, instinct, paranoia, the hypervigilance that had been growing since the festival, made him pick up. "Ethan Walsh?" The voice was cultured, professional, with the kind of smooth delivery that suggested expensive education and careful control. "Who is this?" "My name is Richard Torres. I believe you've been harboring my wife." Ethan's blood turned to ice. He glanced at the doorway, listening for any sound from Amanda's room. "I don't know what you're talking about. Please, Mr. Walsh, let's not insult each other's intelligence. Amanda is there. I know she is because I've had men watching your house for the past 3 days. The question is whether we resolve this situation civilized adults, or whether things become unpleasant. If you've had men watching my house, then you know there's a child here, my daughter. Lily, 9 years old, 4th grade at Cedar Falls Elementary. Best friend Emma Rodriguez. Takes piano lessons on Wednesdays with Mrs. Chen." The implied threat was delivered with the casualness of someone reading a grocery list. Children are so vulnerable, aren't they? So many accidents can happen. Cars that don't stop at crosswalks, strangers offering candy, gas leaks in old houses. "You son of a bitch." "I'm simply pointing out the realities of our situation. Amanda has something that belongs to me. Several somethings, actually. Documents, recordings, financial records that could be misinterpreted by people who don't understand the complexities of international business." "You mean evidence of child trafficking?" There was a pause. When Richard spoke again, his voice had dropped several degrees. "Be very careful, Mr. Walsh. You're a small-town carpenter with a military record that includes some classified incidents in Afghanistan. Incidents that could be reframed in very unflattering ways if the right documents were to surface." Ethan's mind raced. How deep had this man dug into his past? There were things from his service that couldn't be explained easily, decisions made in war zones that looked different under peaceful skies. "What do you want?" "A meeting, tomorrow night, neutral ground, you, me, and Amanda. We discuss terms like civilized people. She returns what she took, signs some papers, and everyone walks away. She can even keep her freedom, such as it is. I just need to ensure she won't cause future problems. And if we refuse, then things get complicated. Your daughter's safety becomes less certain. Your house might suffer an unfortunate fire. The local police might receive an anonymous tip about a wanted fugitive. So many possibilities, all of them unpleasant." Ethan heard footsteps in the hallway. Amanda appeared in his doorway, her face pale in the moonlight. She'd heard enough to understand. "Where?" Ethan asked. "The old Patterson Mill, midnight. Come alone, just the 3 of us. Any sign of law enforcement and Lily becomes an orphan. Are we clear?" "Crystal." The line went dead. Ethan set down the phone and looked at Amanda. She was trembling, but her eyes held the same determination he'd seen that first day by the creek. "It's Richard," she said. It wasn't a question. "Yeah. I have to go. I have to leave now before—" "No." Ethan stood, crossing to where she stood. "Running won't help anymore. He knows where we are, knows about Lily. Leaving would just make us easier targets. Then what do? We meet him, but on our terms, not his." Amanda shook her head. "You don't know Richard. He's not just some white-collar criminal. He's had people killed, Ethan. He had our daughter." Her voice broke. "He won't hesitate to hurt Lily. Then we make sure he doesn't get the chance." Ethan's mind was already working, falling back into tactical planning mode. "The Patterson Mill is isolated, but I know that area. Hunted there as a kid. There are ways to approach it that he won't expect. He'll have men there. Probably, but I have something he doesn't expect. Marcus Stone and 3 other veterans who owe me favors. We're not walking into this blind." They spent the rest of the night planning. Amanda showed him everything she had. USB drives hidden in her purse lining, documents she'd uploaded to encrypted cloud storage, recordings on a device no bigger than a lipstick tube. The evidence was damning. Not just Richard, but an entire network of powerful people who trafficked in human misery. "This is why he can't just let it go," Amanda explained. "It's not just about him anymore. These other people, judges, politicians, CEOs, they'll kill us all to keep this quiet. Then we make sure it can't be kept quiet. Ethan pulled out his laptop, beginning to compose emails. We create a dead man's switch. If something happens to us, everything gets released automatically. Every news outlet, every law enforcement agency, every social media platform. That's not enough. Richard has connections everywhere. He can spin it, claim it's fabricated. Not if we get him on video confessing. Tonight, at the mill. Ethan pulled out a small device from his desk drawer. Surveillance equipment from my MP days. Old but reliable. We wire you up, get him talking, transmit everything to Marcus in real time. Amanda stared at him. You want to use me as bait. I want to end this, for good, so you and Lily can have actual lives instead of just survival. Before Amanda could respond, they heard Lily's door open. She appeared in the hallway, rubbing sleepy eyes. Why is everyone awake? Is something wrong? Ethan and Amanda exchanged glances. How much truth could a 9-year-old handle? Come here, sweetheart, Ethan said, lifting Lily into his lap. Remember how we talked about some people being angry at Miss Sarah? Lily nodded solemnly. The bad people who hurt Jamie. Right. Well, they called tonight. They want to meet with us to talk. You're not going to go, are you? Lily's arms tightened around his neck. In movies, when bad people want to meet, it's always a trap. Sometimes we have to face the bad people to make them stop, Amanda said gently. Your daddy and I are going to meet them, but we're going to be very careful. I don't want you to go, either of you. Tears rolled down Lily's cheeks. What if you don't come back? What if I'm alone again? The word again hit Ethan like a physical blow. His daughter had already lost one parent. The thought of losing more was too much for her young heart to bear. Hey, he said, tilting her chin up to meet his eyes. Remember what I told you about my army days? About how we always had backup, always had a plan? She nodded. Well, I still have army friends. They're going to help us. Uncle Marcus, who came to Mom's funeral, he's going to make sure we come home safe. Promise? Ethan hesitated. He'd learned not to make promises about things beyond his control, but looking at his daughter's terrified face, he couldn't help himself. I promise we'll do everything possible to come home safe. They spent the day preparing. Marcus Stone arrived by noon, bringing 2 other veterans, Rodriguez and Chen, both former Special Forces. They surveyed the mill site, planned approach routes and contingencies. This is serious shit, Walsh, Marcus said, reviewing the evidence. These people, they're connected. This goes all the way up. I know. That's why we need to be smart about it. Meanwhile, Amanda taught Lily origami, both of them pretending normalcy while their hands created paper cranes. Jamie and I were going to make 1,000, Lily said, carefully creasing the paper. She said if you make 1,000 cranes, you get a wish. What would you wish for? Amanda asked. For you to stay, for Daddy to smile like he used to, for us to be a real family. She looked up at Amanda with those serious brown eyes. Is that too many wishes? Amanda pulled her close. No, sweetheart, that's exactly the right amount. As evening approached, the house took on the feeling of the night before a military operation. Equipment checked and rechecked, communications tested, contingency plans reviewed. Lily was sent to stay with Mrs. Hendricks, ostensibly for a sleepover, but really to keep her away from potential danger. Don't let them hurt her, Daddy, Lily whispered as she hugged him goodbye. Miss Sarah needs us. I won't let anyone hurt her, Ethan promised. At 11:30 p.m., they set out for the Patterson Mill. The building had been abandoned for 20 years, its broken windows and crumbling walls a monument to the decline of American manufacturing. The October moon was full, casting everything in silver light and deep shadows. Marcus and his team were already in position, invisible in the darkness. Ethan wore an earpiece that connected him to them, while Amanda was wired with both audio and video transmission. Everything would be recorded, backed up, ready for distribution if necessary. Richard Torres stood in the center of the mill floor, illuminated by portable work lights his men had set up. He was everything Ethan had expected, tall, distinguished, wearing a coat that probably cost more than most people's cars. But it was his eyes that were truly disturbing, cold, calculating, with the kind of detachment that allowed someone to order a child's death while eating dinner. Amanda, Richard said, his voice carrying false warmth. You look terrible. Life on the run doesn't suit you. Hello, Richard. Amanda's voice was steady, stronger than Ethan expected. And Mr. Walsh, The heroic carpenter who pulls drowning women from cars. How noble, how foolish. Let's skip the pleasantries, Ethan said. You wanted to talk? Talk. Richard smiled. Direct, I like that. Very well. Amanda has certain materials that were stolen from my private files. I want them returned, all copies destroyed. In exchange, I'm willing to forgive her recent indiscretions. Indiscretions? Amanda stepped forward, her voice rising. You murdered our daughter. I did nothing of the sort. Jamie's death was a tragic accident. The roads were wet, you were driving too fast. You cut the brake lines. You had us followed, forced off the road. Prove it. Richard's smile was sharp as glass. Oh, wait, you can't. Because the car was destroyed in the fire. The investigation found no evidence of tampering, just a grieving mother's desperate attempt to blame someone else for her own mistake. Amanda lunged forward, but Ethan caught her arm. That's what he wants, he whispered. Let him talk. Richard continued, enjoying himself now. You always were too emotional, Amanda. It's what made you a terrible investigator, always letting feelings cloud your judgment. Like when you thought you'd found evidence of some vast conspiracy. Child trafficking? Really? I'm a businessman, not a monster. I have recordings. You have illegally obtained conversations taken out of context. Conversations about international adoptions. All perfectly legal. Any court would throw them out. Meanwhile, I have evidence that you've been embezzling from federal accounts, using your position to access classified databases for personal gain. Who do you think they'll believe? The respected businessman or the unstable woman who fled after her child's death? You're admitting you killed her, Ethan said, making sure Amanda's wire caught every word. You're admitting you murdered a 7-year-old girl. Richard's composure slipped slightly. I'm admitting nothing. I'm simply pointing out that grief can make people believe impossible things. Amanda needed someone to blame for the accident, so she constructed this elaborate fantasy where I'm some kind of criminal mastermind. Then why are you here? Amanda asked. If I'm just a grieving mother with delusions, why go to all this trouble? Because your delusions are bad for business. Your wild accusations have made some of my partners nervous. They want assurance that you'll be silent, permanently. The threat hung in the air. Ethan touched his earpiece, hearing Marcus confirm they had clear audio and video. Just a little more. They needed him to be explicit. So, what exactly are you proposing? Ethan asked. Simple. Amanda returns all materials she took. She signs a confession admitting to theft and fraud. Then she disappears, permanently. New identity, new country, no contact with anyone from her old life, including you, Mr. Walsh. And if we refuse? Richard sighed theatrically. Then things become unpleasant. Your daughter, for instance. Accidents happen to children all the time. They trust too easily, follow strangers, eat things they shouldn't. Or perhaps something happens to you. A construction accident, a car crash. Amanda knows I'm not making idle threats. You'd murder a child, another child. Amanda's voice was hollow. I'd do whatever's necessary to protect my interests. Just like I did with Jamie when she started asking questions about Daddy's special friends. Children are so observant, aren't they? She noticed things. Asked why those men were giving me money, why there were children in our guest house who only spoke Spanish. Smart girl. Too smart. There it was. The confession. Ethan felt Amanda trembling beside him, her rage and grief threatening to explode. You killed her because she saw too much, Amanda said, each word precise and damning. I eliminated a threat to a multi-billion-dollar operation that provides services to very powerful people, people who don't tolerate exposure. Jamie's sacrifice ensured the safety of the network. One child's life against hundreds of millions in revenue. Simple mathematics. You're a monster. I'm a pragmatist, and you're out of options. Richard gestured, and more men emerged from the shadows. 8 total, all armed. Did you really think I'd come here without insurance? Your friend in the rafters, yes, I know about them, are outnumbered and outgunned. So, let's end this charade. Give me what I want, or everyone dies tonight. The gunfire erupted like thunder in the abandoned mill. Marcus and his team engaged Richard's men from their elevated positions, muzzle flashes lighting up the darkness like deadly fireworks. Ethan pulled Amanda behind a rusted piece of machinery as bullets sparked off metal, the sound deafening in the enclosed space. Go! Back exit! Marcus's voice crackled through the earpiece. We'll cover! But Richard's men had anticipated this. Two of them circled around, cutting off their retreat. Ethan saw the trap closing and made a split-second decision that would haunt him for weeks to come. Take her! He shoved Amanda toward a gap in the mill's wall. Get to the truck! Get Lily and run! No! Ethan, go! He turned back toward Richard's men, drawing their fire, making himself the target so Amanda could escape. He heard her sobbing his name, heard her footsteps retreating, heard the savage satisfaction in Richard's voice as he ordered his men to let her go. We'll find her later. Take Walsh alive. He's our insurance now. The last thing Ethan saw before the rifle butt connected with his skull was Amanda's silhouette disappearing into the Ohio darkness, carrying with her all the evidence that could destroy Richard's empire, and leaving behind the man who'd tried to save her. When Ethan woke, he was in a basement somewhere, concrete walls, single bulb overhead, the taste of blood in his mouth. His hands were zip-tied behind him, shoulders screaming from the position. Richard sat in a chair across from him, still immaculate despite the violence at the mill. Your military friends escaped, Richard said conversationally. Well-trained, disciplined, they killed 3 of my men. That's going to cost me a considerable amount in death benefits. My heart bleeds, Ethan croaked. Richard smiled. Defiant. Good. That'll make this more interesting. He stood, pacing the small space. Amanda's gone, of course. Disappeared with whatever evidence she thinks she has. But here's the thing, Mr. Walsh. She'll come back. For you. For your daughter. That's her weakness, you see. She cares. You don't know her. I was married to her for 5 years. I know exactly who she is. A crusader. Someone who thinks justice actually exists. That good triumphs over evil. It's what made her so easy to manipulate. All I had to do was play the loving husband, the devoted father, and she never suspected until it was too late. You killed your own daughter. Richard's expression didn't change. I removed an obstacle. Jamie was never really mine anyway. Too much of her mother in her. That persistent curiosity. That need to understand everything. Do you know she kept a journal? Wrote down things she overheard, people she saw coming to the house. 7 years old and already a liability. Ethan tested the zip ties, feeling them cut into his wrists. You're going to burn for this. Am I? My lawyers are already spinning a story. Deranged veteran kidnaps federal fugitive. Shootout at abandoned mill. Concerned husband trying to find his missing wife. By tomorrow morning, you'll be the villain in this narrative. The door opened and one of Richard's men entered. Sir, we have a problem. The woman, she's posted the recordings online. They're going viral. Richard's composure finally cracked. He grabbed his phone, scrolling through social media feeds. Ethan could see the views climbing. Thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands. Amanda had done it. She'd released everything. It doesn't matter, Richard said, but uncertainty had crept into his voice. We can claim it's doctored, taken out of context. His phone rang. He answered, his face paling as he listened. Yes, sir, I understand. No, sir, I'll handle it. He ended the call and stood silent for a moment. When he looked at Ethan, there was murder in his eyes. You've killed us all, he said quietly. Do you understand that? The people I work with, they don't tolerate exposure. They'll eliminate everyone connected to this. Amanda, you, your daughter, anyone who might have heard or seen something. Then you better run, Ethan said, because the FBI will be coming for you. The FBI? Richard laughed bitterly. Half of them are on our payroll. No, Mr. Walsh, the people coming for us make the FBI look like Boy Scouts. They're cleaners. They make problems disappear permanently. He pulled out a gun, pressing it against Ethan's forehead. I should kill you now. Save them the trouble. Then do it. Richard's hand trembled slightly. For all his talk of pragmatism, he wasn't a killer. He was a facilitator, someone who ordered deaths but didn't deliver them personally. Sir, another man burst in. Police are here, dozens of them, FBI too. That's impossible. We own the local police. Not anymore, sir. That detective Stone, he went over everyone's head. Called in federal support from D.C. They're surrounding the building. Richard looked at Ethan, then at the gun in his hand. For a moment, Ethan thought he would pull the trigger out of spite. Then they heard the bullhorn outside. "Richard Torres, this is the FBI. We have the building surrounded. Come out with your hands visible." Richard set down the gun and laughed, a broken sound that held no humor. "You have no idea what you've done. The people I work for, they'll never let this stand. Amanda will never be safe. Your daughter will never be safe. You've painted targets on everyone you love." "We'll take our chances," Ethan said. The arrest was almost anticlimactic. FBI agents swarmed the building, taking Richard and his men into custody with professional efficiency. Ethan was freed, his wrists bearing deep purple bruises from the zip ties. Marcus was there, grinning despite a graze on his shoulder. "Nice of you to draw their fire, Walsh. Very heroic. Very stupid. Where's Amanda? Where's Lily?" Marcus's expression sobered. "That's the problem. Amanda grabbed Lily from Mrs. Hendricks and ran. We've been trying to find them for the past 6 hours. She's not answering her phone, not responding to messages." Ethan's relief at surviving evaporated. "She thinks Richard's people are still after her. She doesn't know we got him." "We'll find them," Marcus promised. "Every cop in the state is looking." But hours turned into days with no sign of Amanda or Lily. The evidence Amanda had released dominated the news cycle. A massive trafficking ring exposed, dozens of arrests, Richard Torres at the center of it all. But the victory felt hollow without them. Ethan barely slept, barely ate. He wandered through his empty house like a ghost, seeing them everywhere. Lily's drawings still covered the refrigerator. Amanda's coffee cup sat in the sink. The pumpkins they'd carved were starting to rot on the porch, their faces collapsing inward. "Why would she take Lily?" he asked Marcus for the 100th time. They sat in Ethan's kitchen, surrounded by maps and phone records, trying to trace Amanda's path. She was protecting her. She didn't know who to trust, whether Richard had backup plans. In her mind, running was the only way to keep Lily safe. Safe from what? It's over. Richard's in custody. The network is destroyed. Is it? Marcus pulled up news footage on his tablet. "Look at this. 3 witnesses have already recanted their testimony. 2 others died in accidents. Richard was right about one thing. These people have reach. Amanda knows that. She's not just running from Richard anymore. She's running from his bosses." On the 5th day, Mrs. Hendricks brought over a casserole and an envelope. "This was in my mailbox. No postage, just your name." Inside was a single sheet of paper in Lily's careful handwriting. "Daddy, Miss Sarah says we have to hide for a while. She's scared the bad people will come back. I told her you promised to keep us safe, but she's crying a lot. We're okay. She takes good care of me. We made 257 cranes so far. I miss you. I miss home. Please come find us. Love, Lily P.S. Butterfly died. I think he was lonely." Ethan read the letter until the words blurred. His daughter was out there, frightened and homesick, with a woman so traumatized she couldn't think clearly. Every paternal instinct screamed at him to tear the world apart, looking for them. "There's a clue here," Marcus said, reading over his shoulder. 247 cranes. That's specific. Why mention that number? Ethan thought about the origami, about Amanda teaching Lily to fold paper birds while tears ran down her face. Jamie made 217 cranes before she died. Amanda said she wanted to finish them, make 1,000 total. So 247 means they've made 30 more. If they're making them regularly, say 10 a day, they've been wherever they are for 3 days. The letter arrived today, but who knows when it was dropped off. They could be anywhere by now. Ethan stared at the letter, at his daughter's plea to be found. Then something clicked. She's not running randomly. Amanda's too smart for that. She has a plan, a destination. Where? He thought about their conversations, the quiet moments when Amanda had talked about Jamie, about the life they'd planned before everything fell apart. Jamie wanted to go to Paris, to eat real croissants. You think she took Lily to France? No, but there's a place. Ethan grabbed his laptop, searching rapidly. Here, Little Paris, Minnesota. It's a tiny town near the Canadian border, French-themed everything. Jamie saw it in a travel magazine, begged Amanda to take her there. They never got the chance. Marcus studied the map. That's 1,000 miles from here. You really think she's trying to give Lily what she couldn't give Jamie, one last adventure before everything ends? Because she doesn't think there's going to be a happy ending. She thinks Richard's people will find them eventually. Then we better find them first. They drove through the night, taking turns at the wheel, following a hunch that felt more like prayer than investigation. Ethan called Lily's phone repeatedly, left messages that grew increasingly desperate. "Lily Bean, it's Daddy. I got your letter. I'm coming to find you. Tell Sarah it's safe now. The bad men are in jail. Please, baby, just call me back." But the phone remained silent as the miles rolled by. They passed through small towns that looked like Cedar Falls, each one a reminder of the life Ethan had built and might have lost. He thought about Margaret, wondered what she would think of him falling for another broken soul, of him risking their daughter's safety for a woman he'd known less than a month. "She would understand," Marcus said, as if reading his thoughts. "Margaret always saw the best in people. She would have liked Amanda. I should have protected them better, should have seen Richard's trap coming. You did what you could. Sometimes that's all any of us can do." They reached Little Paris as the sun was setting, painting the quirky French-themed buildings in shades of gold and amber. The town was tiny, maybe 500 people, a main street with a café called Le Petit Croissant, a hotel styled like a French chateau, and not much else. "If they're here, someone's seen them," Marcus said. A woman and a child would stand out. They started at the café. The owner, a woman in her 60s who spoke with an affected French accent, recognized the description immediately. "We, the sad lady and the little girl. They come here every morning. The child draws pictures while the woman stares out the window like she's waiting for something, or someone." "Where are they staying?" "The Chateau, room 217. The woman insisted on that specific room. Strange, no? Room 217. Jamie's crane count. Of course." Ethan stood outside the door, his hand raised to knock, suddenly terrified. What if Amanda didn't want to be found? What if she ran again? What if Lily blamed him for not protecting them? "Daddy?" The small voice came from behind the door. Then it flew open, and Lily launched herself into his arms, sobbing and laughing simultaneously. "I knew you'd find us. I told Miss Sarah you'd come." Over Lily's shoulder, Ethan saw Amanda. She looked exhausted, defeated, like someone who'd been running so long she'd forgotten what standing still felt like. Her eyes filled with tears when she saw him. "I'm sorry," she whispered. "I'm so sorry. I thought they'd kill you both if I stayed. Richard always has backup plans, always has more men. I couldn't lose another family, I couldn't—" Ethan crossed the room in 2 strides, pulling her into his arms alongside Lily. "It's over. Richard's in federal custody. His network is destroyed. We're safe. No one's ever really safe. He told me that once. Said safety was an illusion people created to help them sleep at night. Maybe he's right. Maybe safety is an illusion. But you know what's not? This. Us. The 3 of us together. That's real, Amanda. That's worth fighting for." She collapsed against him, all the fear and grief and exhaustion of the past days pouring out in great gasping sobs. Lily wrapped her small arms around both of them, creating a circle of connection that felt stronger than any of Richard's threats. "Can we go home now?" Lily asked. "I want to sleep in my own bed, and we need to get a new goldfish for Butterfly's bowl." "Yeah, Lily Bean, we can go home." Amanda pulled back slightly, searching his face. "All of us?" "All of us," Ethan confirmed. "We're a family now. Maybe not the traditional kind, but the kind that chooses each other, the kind that faces the darkness together. I don't even know who I am anymore. Without Jamie, without my job, without Richard's lies, I'm nobody. You're Amanda Torres. You're a survivor. You're the woman who brought down a trafficking ring. You're the person teaching my daughter origami and showing her that broken people can still create beautiful things." He touched her face gently. "You're home." The drive back to Cedar Falls took 2 days. They stopped at roadside motels, eating at small diners where no one looked twice at a tired family traveling together. Lily slept between them in the truck's extended cab, her hand clutching Amanda's sleeve even in sleep, as if afraid she might disappear again. "She hasn't let go of me since we ran," Amanda said quietly, watching the highway roll by in the darkness. "Even in the bathroom, she stands right outside the door talking to me. She's terrified I'll leave. You took her to keep her safe. She understands that. Does she? Or does she think I'm just another adult who turned her world upside down? Amanda's voice cracked. I had no right, Ethan. She's your daughter, and I took her. You protected her. That's what mothers do. The word hung in the air between them. Mother. Amanda turned to look at him, her eyes glinting in the passing headlights. I'm not her mother. No, Ethan agreed, but you could be. If you wanted. They rode in silence for a while, each lost in thoughts about families lost and families that might be found. Finally, Amanda spoke again. When Jamie died, I thought that was it for me. No more love, no more family, just existence until Richard's people finally caught up. Then I crashed into your life, literally. And suddenly there was Lily, this bright, beautiful child who looked at me like I mattered. Like I could be something more than just a grieving mother. You are more. Am I? Because right now I feel like I'm cosplaying at being normal, playing house with someone else's family while my daughter is in the ground. She wiped away tears with angry swipes. What kind of mother moves on after just 8 months? What kind of person looks at another child and thinks, maybe she could be mine? Ethan pulled over at a rest stop, turning to face her fully. The kind who understands that love isn't finite. The kind who knows Jamie would want her to keep living, keep loving, keep protecting other children from the monsters that took her. You don't know what Jamie would want. No, but I know what Margaret would want. She'd want me to stop treating our house like a museum. She'd want Lily to have a mother figure who understands loss but chooses love anyway. She'd want me to stop just existing and start living again. He took Amanda's hand. The dead don't want us to die with them, Amanda. They want us to carry them forward into whatever comes next. Amanda squeezed his hand, then looked back at Lily, still sleeping peacefully. She drew me into her family pictures. Did you know that? While we were in Little Paris, she drew the 3 of us standing in front of your house. She labeled it, My Real Family. Lily's always been smarter than me about these things. But it's so fast. We've known each other 3 weeks. That's nothing. Is it? We've faced life and death together. And you've seen me at my worst. I've seen you at yours. We've protected each other's children. Child, he corrected himself. We've built furniture and carved pumpkins and made enough paper cranes to wallpaper a room. Some people date for years and never get that deep. This isn't dating. I don't know what this is. It's 2 broken people choosing to heal together. It's a ready-made family that just needed its missing piece. It's complicated and messy and probably too fast, but it's also real. They reached Cedar Falls the next afternoon. The town looked exactly the same. Autumn decorations still up. People going about their normal lives, but everything felt different. News vans clustered around the courthouse where Richard's preliminary hearing was being held. Ethan's house had yellow tape across the door from the FBI search. We can't stay here, Amanda said, staring at their compromised sanctuary. Marcus arranged a rental on the other side of town, just until things calmed down. The rental was a small Cape Cod with a fenced yard and room for Ethan's tools in the garage. Lily explored it with cautious optimism, claiming the bedroom with the window seat for her own. Amanda stood in the kitchen, looking lost. I don't know how to do this, she admitted. The normal parts, grocery shopping, school pickup, PTA meetings. With Jamie, I was so confident. With Lily, I'm terrified I'll mess it up. You won't. How do you know? Because you love her, not as a replacement for Jamie, but as Lily. I've seen how you look at her, how you listen when she talks about her day, how you remember that she doesn't like crusts on her sandwiches, but loves the heel of the bread. That's not generic maternal instinct. That's specific, intentional love. That evening, they sat on the rental's porch while Lily played in the yard, trying to catch fireflies in a mason jar. The news played on Ethan's phone. Richard Torres had been denied bail, deemed a flight risk and danger to the community. 17 other arrests had been made. The network was unraveling. He'll never go to trial, Amanda said. Someone will kill him in jail, make it look like suicide or an inmate fight. That's how these things end. Maybe he'll flip, give up the bigger fish to save himself. You don't know Richard. He's too proud to flip and too smart not to have insurance. Somewhere, he has more evidence, more names. He'll try to bargain. As if summoned by her words, Ethan's phone rang. Unknown number. Don't answer it, Amanda said immediately. But Ethan was already accepting the call. Hello? Mr. Walsh? Richard's voice was different now, desperate, frightened. I need to speak to Amanda. How are you calling me? You're in federal custody. Guards can be bought. Listen, I don't have much time. They're going to kill me. Tonight, probably. But I can give Amanda something first. Something about Jamie. Amanda grabbed the phone. What about Jamie? She's alive. The words hit like a physical blow. Amanda's legs gave out, and Ethan caught her, both of them staring at the phone. You're lying, Amanda whispered. I'm many things, but not a liar. Not about this. The accident was real, but Jamie survived. My associates took her. Insurance, they called it, to keep you from investigating. She's been in Montreal for 8 months, living with a family who thinks they adopted an orphan. No, I saw her body. You identified a body that had been burned beyond recognition. A child the same age, same size. One of the trafficking victims who didn't survive transport. I'm not proud of it, but I didn't kill our daughter, Amanda. I just let you think I did. Amanda was hyperventilating. Ethan took the phone. If this is true, where is she exactly? I'll tell you, but I need something in return. Protection. Witness protection, new identity, the works. Otherwise, I'm dead by morning, and the location dies with me. You son of a bitch! 30 seconds, Mr. Walsh. They're coming for me. Yes or no? Ethan looked at Amanda, who was sobbing uncontrollably, hope and rage warring on her face. Yes. Give us the address. Richard rattled off an address in Montreal, a family name, a phone number. The Beaumonts. They call her Julie. She doesn't remember much. They told her that her parents died in a fire, but she still makes origami cranes, still talks about butterflies. The line went dead. They heard shouting in the background, then nothing. Amanda was already moving, throwing things into a bag. We have to go. Now. Tonight. Amanda, wait. This could be a trap. Richard could be... I don't care. She spun on him, eyes wild. If there's even a chance Jamie's alive, I have to go. You understand that, right? You'd do the same for Lily. Of course I would. But we need to be smart about this. Let me call Marcus, get back up. No cops, no FBI. If Richard's associates realize we know, they might move her, or worse. She grabbed his shoulders. Please, Ethan, I can't lose her again. Lily appeared in the doorway, drawn by the shouting. What's wrong? Why is Miss Sarah crying? Amanda dropped to her knees, pulling Lily into a fierce hug. Remember Jamie, my daughter? She might be alive. We have to go find her. Lily's eyes widened. Really? She's alive? Maybe. I hope so. Then we have to go get her. Lily turned to Ethan. Right, Daddy? We have to bring her home? Looking at his daughter's determined face, so like her mother's when she'd decided something was right, Ethan knew the decision was already made. They were going to Montreal. They were going to find out if Richard's last words were truth or final manipulation. Pack warm clothes, Lily Bean. It's cold in Canada. The drive to Montreal took 12 hours. They crossed the border at dawn, Amanda using the fake ID she'd been traveling under, her hands shaking as she handed it to the border agent. But they passed through without incident. The Beaumont house was in a quiet suburb, white with blue shutters, a swing set in the yard. Normal, peaceful. Nothing to suggest a kidnapped child lived there. How do we do this? Amanda asked, staring at the house. Just knock on the door and say, you have my daughter? We could call the police. With what proof? The word of a dead trafficker? She was spiraling, months of grief and days of the hope crashing together. What if it's not her? What if it is her but she doesn't remember me? What if... The front door opened. A small girl stepped out, wearing a school uniform, carrying a backpack covered in butterfly patches. She had Amanda's dark hair, her delicate features, her way of tilting her head when thinking. Jamie, Amanda breathed. The girl looked up, saw them watching, and waved, the casual greeting of a child who'd been taught to be polite to neighbors. She didn't recognize her mother, didn't know the woman sobbing in the passenger seat was the one who'd sung her to sleep for 7 years. She doesn't know me, Amanda whispered. My baby doesn't know me. But then the girl did something that changed everything. She reached into her backpack and pulled out a paper crane, setting it on the porch railing. A small ritual, a habit maintained even without memory of its origin. She still makes them, Ethan said softly. Some part of her remembers. A woman appeared in the doorway, Mrs. Beaumont, presumably. She called something in French, and the girl, Jamie, went back inside. But not before looking back at their car once more, a flicker of something crossing her face. Recognition? Memory? Or just curiosity about the strangers parked outside her house? "What do we do?" Amanda asked, her voice small and lost. Ethan took her hand. "We be smart. We be patient. We get her back the right way so no one can ever take her again. Marcus has contacts in Canadian law enforcement. We document everything. We prove who she is, and then we bring her home." "Home," Amanda repeated. "Where's that?" "Wherever we're together. All of us. You, me, Lily, and Jamie. That's home." Amanda turned to look at him fully. "You'd do that? Take on another child? One who's been through trauma, who might never fully remember her real life. She's your daughter. That makes her family. And families stay together no matter how complicated the path home might be." In the back seat, Lily had pulled out paper and was folding a crane. "For Jamie," she said simply. "So she knows we're here for her." The call from Marcus came at dawn. Ethan answered it in the hotel bathroom, trying not to wake Amanda and Lily, who had finally fallen asleep after hours of planning how to approach the Beaumonts. "Richard Torres is dead," Marcus said without preamble. "Killed in his cell last night. Official cause is suicide, but we both know better." "Jesus, he knew it was coming." "That's not all. The Beaumonts aren't who they seem. They're connected to the trafficking ring, not as perpetrators, but as clients. They couldn't have children naturally, paid Richard's network for a private adoption. They might not even know Jamie was kidnapped. Or they might know exactly what she is," Ethan said, thinking of the way Mrs. Beaumont had quickly called Jamie inside when she'd noticed them watching. "I've got Canadian federal police ready to move, but we need probable cause. The word of a dead trafficker isn't enough. We need Amanda to make a formal identification, DNA tests, the works. How long will that take? Days, maybe weeks, unless what? Unless the Beaumonts run. If they know Richard is dead, if they know we're onto them, they might disappear with Jamie. We've seen it before. These people have resources, connections. They could be in another country before we get a warrant." Ethan looked through the door at Amanda, curled protectively around Lily, even in sleep. She'd lost Jamie once. If she lost her again? "What do you need us to do?" "Keep watching, document everything, and if they make a move, we follow." "Ethan, that could be dangerous. These people are desperate. Desperate people do desperate things." "Then you better get that warrant fast. 3 days of surveillance. 3 days of watching Jamie, now called Julie, go to school, play in the yard, live a life that wasn't hers. Amanda barely ate, barely slept, surviving on coffee and the sight of her daughter through binoculars. "She's happy," Amanda said on the third night, her voice hollow. "Look at her. She's laughing, playing, being loved. What if pulling her out of this life traumatizes her more than leaving her?" "She's your daughter," Ethan said firmly. "She belongs with you." "Does she?" "The mother she remembers is dead. The life she remembers is gone. To her, I'm a stranger. A stranger who's about to destroy the only family she knows." Lily, wise beyond her years, took Amanda's hand. "My mom died too. But if she could come back, even if I didn't remember her, I'd want to know. Everyone deserves to know where they come from. But what if she hates me for it?" "Then you love her anyway," Lily said simply. "That's what parents do." The fourth morning changed everything. Ethan was on watch while Amanda showered, and Lily practiced origami when he saw Mr. Beaumont loading suitcases into their car. Not overnight bags, big suitcases, the kind you took when you weren't coming back. He called Marcus immediately. "They're running. Damn it, we're still 12 hours from a warrant. If they leave, they're not leaving, not with Jamie. Ethan, you can't." But Ethan had already hung up. He woke Amanda, explained the situation in rapid sentences. Her face went from sleepy confusion to sharp determination in seconds. "We follow them," she said. "Wherever they go, we follow. It could be dangerous. I don't care. I'm not losing her again." They packed in 5 minutes. were in the car in 7. The Beaumont's SUV was just pulling out of their driveway, Jamie visible in the back seat. She was crying, clutching a stuffed octopus to her chest. "She doesn't want to go," Amanda whispered. "She's scared." They followed at a distance, Ethan using techniques he'd learned in military surveillance. The Beaumonts headed north, toward the rural areas beyond Montreal. The houses grew sparse, the forest thick. This wasn't the route to an airport or train station. This was the route to a hideout. They're not just running, Ethan realized. They're meeting someone. The Beaumonts turned down a dirt road marked private property. Ethan drove past, then doubled back, parking behind a screen of trees. Through the forest, they could see a large cabin, isolated, defensible. 2 other cars were already there. "Call Marcus," Ethan told Amanda. "Tell him where we are." But when she tried, there was no signal. They were too far into the wilderness, too isolated for cell towers to reach. "We wait," Ethan decided. "When they come out, we follow. Eventually we'll get signal." The scream cut through the forest like a knife, high, terrified, unmistakably a child's. "Jamie!" Amanda was out of the car before Ethan could stop her, running toward the cabin. He grabbed Lily, torn between protecting his daughter and helping Amanda. "Stay in the car," he told Lily. "Lock the doors. If we're not back in 20 minutes, drive to the main road and get help." "Daddy, no. I have to help them. Be brave, Lily Bean." He gave her the car keys and his phone, then ran after Amanda. She'd stopped at the edge of the clearing, crouched behind a woodpile. Through the cabin's windows, they could see an argument in progress. Mr. Beaumont was shouting at 2 men Ethan didn't recognize. Mrs. Beaumont was holding Jamie, struggling to hold her, actually, as the girl fought to get free. "What are they saying?" Ethan whispered. The conversation was in rapid French. "The men want to take Jamie. They say she's compromised, that the authorities know about her. The Beaumonts are refusing. They're saying they paid for her. She's theirs." "She's nobody's," Amanda snarled, and before Ethan could stop her, she was moving toward the cabin. "Amanda, wait!" But she was already at the door, kicking it open with a force born of maternal rage. Everyone inside froze. "Jamie!" Amanda called. "Jamie, baby, it's Mommy!" The girl stopped struggling, staring at Amanda with wide, confused eyes. "Maman?" It was French for mother, but the way she said it, the inflection, the head tilt, it was purely Jamie. Some part of her recognized Amanda, even if her conscious mind didn't understand. "Yes, baby, it's me. I've come to take you home." "She's not going anywhere with you," one of the men said in accented English. He pulled out a gun, pointing it at Amanda. "You've caused enough problems." Ethan moved then, using the distraction to enter through the back door. The cabin was a single large room with a loft, giving him a clear view of everyone. 2 armed men, the Beaumonts, Jamie, and Amanda, standing in the doorway like an avenging angel. "Let the girl go," Amanda said, her voice steady despite the gun aimed at her. "She's my daughter. You know she is. Richard told me everything before he died." "Richard's dead?" Mrs. Beaumont gasped. "You said he was just in custody." "Shut up," the gunman snapped. "Richard's death changes nothing. The girl is evidence. She needs to disappear." "No!" Mrs. Beaumont pulled Jamie closer. "We've raised her for 8 months. She's ours now." "She was never yours," Amanda said. "You knew what you were buying. A stolen child. Someone's baby ripped away from their mother. Her mother was dead. They told us." "They lied. Like they lied about everything. I'm standing right here, and I want my daughter back." Jamie was crying now, confused and frightened. "Je veux rentrer à la maison," she whimpered. "I want to go home." "You are home, Julie," Mr. Beaumont said, but his voice lacked conviction. Ethan used the argument as cover, moving closer to the armed men. He needed to be within striking distance when the moment came. And it would come. He could feel the violence building like pressure in the air. "Here's what's going to happen," the lead gunman said. "Everyone's going to calm down. The woman leaves. We take the girl somewhere safe. The Beaumonts get their money back. Everyone wins. I'm not leaving without my daughter. Then you're not leaving at all." The gun swung toward Amanda. Ethan moved, launching himself at the gunman. They crashed into the furniture, wrestling for the weapon. It discharged, the bullet splintering wood somewhere overhead. The second man reached for his gun, but Amanda was already moving. 8 months of rage and grief channeled into a single moment of violence. She grabbed a lamp and swung it with devastating accuracy, dropping him before he could draw. "Run!" Ethan shouted, still struggling with the first gunman. "Take Jamie and run!" But Jamie was frozen, overwhelmed by the chaos. Mrs. Beaumont still held her, torn between protecting the child she'd come to love and self-preservation. "Please," Amanda begged Mrs. Beaumont. "You're a mother. You understand? If someone had taken your child, wouldn't you do anything to get them back?" Mrs. Beaumont's grip loosened. "She won't remember you. We've told her so many stories. I'll help her remember. Please. She's my baby." The gunman Ethan was fighting broke free, swinging the pistol toward Amanda. Ethan caught his wrist, redirecting the shot into the ceiling, then drove his knee into the man's solar plexus. The gun clattered away. "Julie! Jamie! Come here, sweetheart," Amanda called, dropping to her knees, making herself less threatening. Jamie looked between Amanda and the Beaumonts, tears streaming down her face. Then, in a small voice that broke everyone's hearts, she said, "You smell like butterflies." It made no sense, but Amanda sobbed at the words. "You remember. Oh, baby, you remember something." "Mom used to smell like butterflies," Jamie continued as if in a dream. "When she tucked me in, she sang songs about butterflies." Amanda began to sing, her voice shaky but clear. A lullaby about a butterfly looking for home, one she'd made up when Jamie was a baby. Jamie's eyes widened. She pulled free from Mrs. Beaumont and took a tentative step toward Amanda, then another. Then she was running, crashing into her mother's arms. "Mommy, Mommy, where were you? They said you died. They said..." "I'm here, baby. I'm here. I'll never leave you again." The first gunman was getting up. Ethan grabbed the dropped weapon, pointing it at both men. "Stay down, both of you." "You have no idea who you're messing with," the man snarled. "The organization is finished. The FBI has everything. Names, dates, financial records. It's over." Sirens wailed in the distance. Marcus had tracked them somehow, backup arriving just in time. "We should go," Mr. Beaumont said to his wife. "Before the police..." "No," Mrs. Beaumont said quietly. "We stay. We tell them everything." She looked at Amanda, still clutching Jamie. "We didn't know. I swear we didn't know she had a living mother. They told us she was orphaned, that we were saving her." "You knew enough," Amanda said coldly. "You knew you were buying a child. We wanted a family so badly. When the legal adoptions fell through, when the fertility treatments failed, we were desperate. Desperate enough to steal someone else's child." "We didn't," Mr. Beaumont started. "Yes, we did," his wife interrupted. "We knew something was wrong. The secrecy, the cash payments, the way they wouldn't tell us where she came from. We knew, and we didn't care because we wanted her so much." The police arrived then, Canadian federal agents and local law enforcement swarming the cabin. The gunmen were arrested, the Beaumonts taken into custody. Marcus appeared, Lily at his side. She'd driven to the main road just as he'd arrived, flagging him down with Ethan's phone. "Daddy!" She ran to him, and he caught her, holding her tight. "I was so scared." "You were so brave, Lily Bean, so brave." Lily looked at Jamie, still in Amanda's arms. The two girls studied each other with the serious evaluation of children. "You're Jamie," Lily said. "I'm Lily. I've been taking care of your mom." Jamie's brow furrowed. "Taking care of her? She was really sad without you, but my daddy and I helped. We're kind of like a practice family. Do you want to see the paper cranes I made? I've been making them for you." Jamie looked up at Amanda. "Can I, Mommy?" Amanda laughed through her tears. "Yes, baby, yes." The legal complexities took weeks to sort out. DNA tests confirming Jamie's identity. Depositions about the kidnapping, the false death, the illegal adoption. The Beaumonts cooperated fully, providing information about the network's operations in exchange for reduced sentences. Through it all, Jamie struggled to reconcile her two lives. She remembered Amanda, but she also remembered the Beaumonts. She spoke French in her sleep, called for maman and mommy interchangeably. She was terrified of cars, of being separated from Amanda, even for minutes. "It's going to take time," the child psychologist said. "She's been through tremendous trauma. 2 lives, 2 families, 2 languages. Be patient. Patience was hard when Jamie woke screaming, when she hoarded food in her room, when she forgot English words and dissolved into frustrated tears. But slowly, incrementally, she began to heal. Lily helped more than any therapist could. She simply accepted Jamie as she was, confused, scared, sometimes speaking French, sometimes making origami obsessively. She shared her room without complaint, held Jamie during nightmares, taught her the games she'd missed during 8 months of being someone else. "We're sisters now," Lily announced one morning over breakfast. "Not blood sisters, but choice sisters. That's even better because it means we picked each other." Jamie looked at her solemnly. "Did you pick me?" "Yep. The minute I saw you. Even though I'm weird and scared and sometimes forget who I am, especially because of that. Weird people are the best people." A month after the rescue, they stood in Ethan's workshop, all 4 of them. He was teaching both girls to sand wood, their small hands guided by adult ones. Amanda watched, still sometimes seeming surprised to find herself in this life. "You're thinking too hard again," Ethan told her. "I'm thinking about how impossible this is, how I should be planning Jamie's funeral, not teaching her woodworking, how you should be living your quiet life with Lily, not dealing with my chaos. Maybe chaos is what we needed. Maybe quiet was just another word for stuck." She moved closer to him, their shoulders touching. "Margaret would have been better at this, at making a blended family work. Margaret's not here. You are, and you're doing amazingly." "I love you," she said suddenly, the words escaping like they'd been held under pressure. "I didn't mean to. It feels like betraying Richard, which is insane because he was a monster. But I loved him once, and then I loved our life, and then I lost everything. I didn't think I had room to love again. But you do?" "I do. You and Lily, you saved me. You gave me hope when I had none. You fought for Jamie when you didn't even know her. You're the family we should have had all along." Ethan set down the sandpaper, turning to face her fully. "Marry me." "What?" "Marry me. Make this official. Make us a real family, not a practice one." "Ethan, that's crazy. We've known each other 2 months. 2 months of more life than I've had in 3 years. 2 months of watching you fight for your daughter, of seeing you help mine, of building something from the wreckage of what we lost." "The girls would love it," Lily interrupted from where she and Jamie were pretending not to eavesdrop. "We already voted. It was unanimous." "You voted?" Amanda laughed, tears streaming down her face. "Democracy," Jamie said seriously. "Very important in families." Amanda looked at the 3 of them, this unlikely family forged from tragedy and hope. "Yes," she said. "Yes, I'll marry you." The wedding was small, held in the backyard of their new house. They'd bought it together, needing a fresh start without ghosts. Marcus stood as best man. The girls were flower girls, leaving a trail of paper cranes instead of petals. As Ethan and Amanda exchanged vows, promising to love and protect not just each other, but the family they'd created, a butterfly landed on their joined hands, orange and black, a late monarch that should have already migrated. "Transformation," Jamie whispered, "something beautiful from something difficult." And it was. The first Christmas as a complete family arrived with a snowstorm that blanketed Cedar Falls in pristine white. 6 months had passed since the wedding, 8 months since Jamie's rescue. The house on Willow Street, their house, chosen together, painted together, made home together, glowed with lights that Ethan and the girls had spent an entire weekend hanging. "Higher, Daddy!" Jamie called from below as Ethan balanced on the ladder, adjusting the star atop their enormous Douglas fir. She'd grown 2 inches since coming home, as if her body had been waiting to feel safe before resuming normal childhood development. "If it goes any higher, it'll go through the ceiling," he laughed, but adjusted it anyway. Jamie had opinions about everything these days, a sign, the therapist said, that she felt secure enough to assert herself. Amanda watched from the kitchen doorway, hands wrapped around a mug of cocoa. These quiet moments still sometimes took her breath away. The normalcy of it. The impossible, beautiful normalcy of having her daughter back, of having a husband who understood broken pieces, of having another daughter who'd claimed her heart with fierce determination. "Mom, look!" Lily held up an ornament she'd made at school, a photo of all 4 of them from Thanksgiving, surrounded by popsicle sticks painted gold. Mrs. Peterson helped me with the frame. The photo captured them perfectly. Ethan and Amanda in the middle, the girls on either side, everyone looking at the camera except Jamie, who was looking up at Amanda with an expression of wonder, as if still amazed to find her there. "It's perfect, sweetheart." The doorbell rang, and both girls raced to answer it. Through the chaos of their competitive sprint, Amanda heard familiar voices: Marcus and his family, the Hendricks from their old neighborhood, even Detective Rodriguez, who'd flown in from Phoenix to spend the holidays with them. "Angela!" Amanda embraced her fellow survivor, both women understanding without words what it meant to fight the darkness and win. The house filled with people, with laughter, with the smell of Ethan's famous cinnamon rolls baking in the oven. This was what they'd built from the ashes. Not just a nuclear family, but a community of people who'd stood by them through the worst and celebrated with them through the best. "Speech," Marcus called out, raising his glass of eggnog. "Come on, Walsh. You always give a toast at the station Christmas parties." Ethan looked embarrassed, but stood, pulling Amanda against his side. "I'm not good at speeches?" "Liar," Amanda whispered, making him smile. "But I guess I can try. A year ago, I thought I knew what my life would be. Lily and me, getting by, getting through, surviving, but not really living. Then someone crashed into our lives, literally, and everything changed." "You hit the water, not Daddy," Lily corrected, making everyone laugh. "True, but that crash brought us Amanda and eventually Jamie. It brought us a family we didn't know we were missing. Margaret used to say that broken things can be more beautiful than perfect ones because they have stories. Well, everyone in this room has stories. Stories of loss, of fear, of fighting through the darkness, but also stories of hope, of choosing love over fear, of building something new from broken pieces." He raised his glass. "To broken things made beautiful, to chosen families, to second chances and third chances, and as many chances as it takes to get it right." "To family," everyone echoed, and Amanda felt Jamie's hand slip into hers, Lily's arms wrap around her waist, Ethan's strength beside her. This was what Richard had tried to steal, what grief had tried to destroy, what fear had tried to prevent. But love, it turned out, was stronger than all of it. Later, after the guests had gone home and the girls were asleep, Jamie still insisted on sharing Lily's room, the two of them whispering secrets long past bedtime. Ethan and Amanda sat by the dying fire, watching snow fall outside the window. "I have something for you," Amanda said, pulling out a wrapped package. Inside was a wooden frame holding a document. Adoption papers. Official, signed, sealed. "Lily," Ethan's voice was rough with emotion. "She's legally mine now, just like Jamie's legally yours. No one can ever separate us again." They'd done the paperwork quietly, not wanting to make a big deal of it, but it was huge. It meant that in the eyes of the law, they were what they'd already become in their hearts, a family indivisible. "The girls know. We told them last week," Lily said, and I quote, "Finally, now can we get a dog?" Ethan laughed, pulling Amanda closer. "A dog, huh? Jamie wants a cat. They're negotiating. I think they've settled on one of each." Of course they have. They sat in comfortable silence, the kind that comes from knowing someone completely, from having seen them at their worst and choosing to stay anyway. "Do you think Margaret and Jamie, the first Jamie, would approve?" Amanda asked suddenly. It was something she wondered about often, whether the ghosts they carried would bless this new life they'd built. "I think they'd be happy we found each other, happy we didn't let grief win. Some days I still can't believe she's really here. I go into their room at night just to watch her breathe, to convince myself she's real. She's real! This is all real. We made it through, Amanda. We won." But even victories came with scars. Jamie still had nightmares about being taken again. She hoarded food in her closet, needed to know where Amanda was at all times, sometimes forgot English words when she was stressed. The therapist said it would take years for her to fully process what had happened. And there were practical concerns. The trial of Richard's associates was ongoing, requiring testimony that reopened wounds. The Beaumonts had been sentenced to 5 years. Not enough, in Amanda's opinion, but their cooperation had been valuable. They'd sent a letter of apology that Amanda had burned without reading. Some of Richard's network remained at large, shadowy figures who'd escaped the FBI's net. Amanda still looked over her shoulder sometimes, still checked locks obsessively, still kept a bag packed with emergency supplies. Old habits from months of running died hard, but for every moment of fear, there were a dozen of joy. Jamie learning to ride the bike Ethan built her. Lily teaching Jamie their school's complicated playground games. Family dinners where everyone talked over each other. Saturday mornings in the workshop, sawdust in their hair, creating something beautiful together. Spring came early that year, and with it, a surprise. Amanda had been feeling tired, nauseated, emotional. She attributed it to the stress of the ongoing trials until Lily, with a child's blunt honesty, asked if she was pregnant. The test was positive. How? Amanda stared at the 2 lines in shock. I'm 38. After Jamie, the doctor said it would be nearly impossible. Nearly impossible isn't impossible, Ethan said, his face a mixture of joy and concern. How do you feel about it? Terrified, excited, guilty. Guilty? Like I'm replacing the children we lost with new ones, like I'm trying to erase the past. Or maybe, Ethan said gently, we're adding to our family, not replacing anyone, just making room for more love. They told the girls together, unsure how they'd react. Lily shrieked with joy, immediately launching into plans for being the best big sister ever. Jamie was quieter, processing. Will you still love us the same? She asked finally. Even with a new baby? Amanda pulled her close. Love multiplies, it doesn't divide. The new baby will have the best big sisters in the world, and you'll still be my miracles, my first baby, my found-again baby. And I'm the bonus baby, Lily added cheerfully, the one who came with Daddy. The pregnancy progressed normally, a small miracle given everything Amanda's body had been through. The girls were involved in everything, picking names, decorating the nursery, arguing about whether the baby would prefer dinosaurs or butterflies on the walls. Both, Ethan decided, painting a mural of dinosaurs chasing butterflies that made no scientific sense but delighted everyone. Thomas Marcus Walsh was born on a humid August night, with his sisters pacing the waiting room and his father holding his mother's hand through 17 hours of labor. He had Ethan's sandy hair and Amanda's dark eyes, a perfect blend of both parents. He's so small, Jamie whispered when she first held him. Lily pressed close beside her. You were that small once, Amanda told her. Even smaller. I don't remember. That's okay. We remember for you. The day they brought Thomas home, they found the porch covered in paper cranes. Hundreds of them, maybe thousands, in every color imaginable. The note said simply, from all of us who believe in transformation. They never found out who organized it. Marcus denied responsibility, as did Angela and the others. But the cranes became part of family legend. Lily and Jamie collected them all, stringing them from the nursery ceiling, where they turned slowly in the air currents, casting rainbow shadows on the walls. 5 years passed. Thomas grew from a baby to a sturdy toddler to a kindergartner who worshipped his big sisters and believed his father could fix anything. Jamie's nightmares faded to occasional bad dreams. Lily got into art school early admission. The trials ended, most of the network imprisoned, the rest fled to countries without extradition treaties. Ethan's furniture business expanded. He hired 2 apprentices, young veterans who needed purpose as much as he once had. Amanda returned to work part-time, consulting for nonprofits that fought human trafficking, turning her trauma into purpose. On a sunny October afternoon, they stood in the cemetery where Margaret was buried. It was her birthday, and they came every year, all of them now, even Thomas, who knew Mama Margaret from stories and pictures. Hi, Margaret, Amanda said, placing flowers on the headstone. We're all here. Ethan's doing well. He smiles every day now, real smiles. Lily's becoming an amazing artist. She has your eye for beauty. Jamie's healing, growing, becoming who she was always meant to be. And Thomas. You would have loved Thomas. He has your laugh somehow. That surprised, delighted laugh you did when something caught you off guard. Lily added her own flowers, purple cosmos she'd grown herself. We miss you, Mom, but we're okay. We're taking care of each other. Jamie placed a paper crane on the grave, one of 1,000 she'd finally finished. Thank you for raising Daddy to be the kind of person who saves people. He saved us. Ethan knelt, Thomas on his shoulders, and touched the stone. Thank you for teaching me that love doesn't end with death, that hearts can expand infinitely, that broken things can be beautiful. As they walked back to the car, Thomas asked, "Why do we visit someone who's not there anymore?" "Because," Jamie answered, 11 years old now and wise beyond her years. "The people we love never really leave. They become part of our story, part of who we are." Like the butterflies? Exactly like the butterflies. That evening, they had dinner on the porch, watching the sunset paint the sky in shades of pink and gold. The conversation flowed around the table: Lily's art project, Jamie's soccer team, Thomas's conviction that his kindergarten teacher was secretly a superhero, Ethan's new commission for a dining set, Amanda's upcoming presentation to Congress about trafficking prevention. Normal, beautifully, impossibly normal. "Tell the story again," Thomas demanded, as he did most nights, "about how our family started." So, they told it, each adding their parts. How Daddy saved Mommy from a crashed car, how Lily made paper cranes for a stranger, how Jamie was lost and found again, how love grew from loss, hope from despair, family from strangers choosing each other. "And then, what happened?" Thomas asked, though he knew the answer. "And then," Amanda said, looking around the table at these people who'd become her everything, "we lived happily ever after." "That's not realistic," Jamie protested with preteen skepticism. "Life isn't a fairy tale." "No," Ethan agreed, "it's better. Fairy tales end. Our story keeps going." "Forever?" Thomas asked. "Forever," Lily confirmed. "That's what families do. They go on forever, even when the individual stories end." As darkness fell and the fireflies began their evening dance, the Walsh family remained on the porch, held together by choice and chance, by loss and love, by the 1,000 invisible threads that bind broken people into something whole. Inside the house, on the mantel, sat a photo from their wedding day. But next to it sat other photos: Margaret and Ethan on their wedding day, Amanda and baby Jamie before the world went dark, Lily's first Christmas, the day they brought Thomas home. Not a replacement family, but an expanded one. Not erasing the past, but building on it. The paper cranes hung in every room now, 1,000 wishes made manifest. Not the wishes they'd started with, for people who couldn't come back, for pain that couldn't be undone, but new wishes, for healing, for hope, for the courage to love after loss. And in the end, that's what their story was about. Not the fairy tale ending where everything is perfect, but the real-life ending where everything is possible, where strangers become family, where tragedy becomes triumph, where broken hearts learn to beat again, not the same as before, but stronger for having been shattered and rebuilt. The carpenter who built a new life from the ruins of the old, the investigator who fought monsters and won, the girls who chose to be sisters, the baby who completed a circle that had seemed irreparably broken. A family born not from simplicity, but from complexity, not from ease, but from effort, not from perfection, but from the beautiful mess of people choosing to love each other through the worst and into the best. As they finally went inside, Thomas asleep in Ethan's arms, Jamie and Lily arguing about whose turn it was to wash dishes, Amanda pausing to kiss her husband in the doorway, the house on Willow Street glowed with the kind of warmth that comes not from electricity, but from love actively chosen, daily renewed, forever growing. And somewhere, in whatever place the departed watched the living, Margaret Walsh and Jamie Torres smiled, knowing their loved ones had found their way home.